Understanding desires. Desires arise in the mind, and temptations, yearnings arise in the senses. Morality or dharma arises in the intellect, and intention, purpose arises in the soul. So, anything that we deem as a desire is basically one of these four shades that it takes. When we are in the lower species, lower yonis, or lower states of mind, we are constantly looking for happiness outside us. That is why we do not expect toddlers and adolescents to be doing meditation, because to them there is so much of unexplored territory outside that they are constantly being sucked in that direction. Those things will count as temptations, because the receptors on the senses, whether be it of taste, touch, sense, smell, or sight, they are totally desaturated and unoccupied in this new life that that individual has gotten. They get an immense high from the attachment of the Vishaya with the Indriya, or the ligand with the receptor, to create this sense of pleasure, the dopaminergic surge, and that's why they keep chasing it, and most of us keep chasing it even for the rest of our lives. However, once an individual has gotten to the point of satiation from overexhaustion or overconsumption of that particular ligand or Vishaya attaching to the senses or the Indriya, then starts Vairagya, because the mind belongs to this world, Prakriti, it is subject to change. Senses belong to this world, they're subject to change. And the change from affinity is one of indifference, and finally to one of aversion, because it has to cycle back and forth to create the Mayic delusion and to continue this thing from going on and on. So, temptations is the manifestation of senses, and over time, if one gets more and more attached because they haven't exhausted their vasana of that particular temptation, it will morph into mental obsessions, physical compulsions, and together they create this feeling of helpless addiction. At the level of the mind, if there is too much of tug in the direction of temptations, the whole and sole purpose of life seems to be enjoying or getting the imminent, short-lived high from the dopaminergic surge. And that is why you will hear some folks saying that the purpose of life is eating, or purpose of life is to have sex. None of which are true. These two, eating and sex, are the two main distractions that the senses can create wholeheartedly all the time to exhaust all your life chasing them and still feel incomplete, because they are very strong Vishayas. Food and sex, both of them. So the mind is constantly tugged in the direction of that temptation so as to create an illusion that the purpose of life is only to enjoy that particular Vishaya. Even if it is short-lived, you keep coming back again and again. It cannot provide perpetual happiness. It cannot provide continuity, persistence, which is what you want to remain in a blissful state. That is what the Atman wants, because that's what the Atman was used to when it was a part of the Paramatman. So, once the mind is absolutely weakened by these temptations, and when it is trying to suddenly jolt itself out of this habit, it will feel so helpless. An individual who has been eating 4 times a day, if you ask him to not eat for 24 hours, he will be miserable. An individual who is used to practice of porn, masturbation, orgasm, if you take away his computer or his ways of exercising his certain ritualistic practice every morning in the shower or whatever things he's used to doing, he will feel helpless. Anything that has become from a temptation to an obsession is going to cause your downfall. And the first step in killing this obsession is recognition of the problem. That you have unfortunately surrendered to a lower being inside you, the animalistic instinct from which we arose. And that's the first step. The second step, of course, is dhyana and meditation, in which you do vairagya, a constant castigation of that practice while you are doing it, seeing it as a third person outside the body, and then making some judgments on that act. That helps to retrain, rewire the mental circuits so that the individual is not feeling helplessly surrendering to the senses all the time. Dhyana, pranayama, both of them help to liquidate the vasanas that have become deeply ingrained or are becoming deeply ingrained. Because we don't want these vasanas to become our samskaras. Vasanas represents activities or intentions that seem to be very deeply grained in an individual's personality in this life, responsible coming from past life activities, rigorous repetition. Whereas samskara just represents the impressions that are ingrained from these vasanas in the subconscious mind. And that is the portion that is even deeper than the vasanas, because samskaras are portions of you that you are not also aware that deeply remain inside you. Whereas vasanas, you are aware that I have these weaknesses or tendencies that I need to be exercising in. So to change your samskaras, first we have to change our vasanas. To change our vasanas, we have to use vairagya in dhyana and pranayama in the practice of breathing. So, as I said, the mind will be tugged in the direction of the temptations if you are constantly surrendering to the senses, or when it is used to this practice of pranayama, the breath control through Surya Bhedi, Chandra Bhedi, Rechak, Kumbhak, Purak, then it is going to elevate itself towards the realm of intellect or buddhi. In the buddhi realm, there is existence of dharma. Dharma is the ability to delineate wrong versus right, good versus evil, sattva versus tamas. And that in its purified version is able to establish Brahmanical neutrality, or the ability to choose right and not wrong. Because when you choose right, there is samta, sambhav, equanimity, which are all characteristics of sattva. So, sattva is at the level of intellect, rajas is at the level of desire, and tamas is at the level of temptations, senses. So, see how you are moving, or you have the ability to move and morph your rajas into tamas, which is the default route that rajas will take if you do not practice awareness, versus upliftment of desires into morality, into the Brahmanical neutrality of dharma by practicing dhyana and pranayama. Now, once someone is used to practicing dhyana all the time, they have liquidated their vasanas, because they have become 2 steps ahead of the sensual temptations. They could have fallen at 1, sensual temptations, 0, at the mental desires, wantings, and now they don't have either of those two. Must learn to distinguish between temptation and desire. Temptation happens when you have the Vishaya in front of the Indriya, whereas desires happen when you do not have the Vishaya, but still the Indriyas are calling you. You can call them as cravings, is what the senses gets in the mode of. So the senses can either tempt you or crave you. The mind can only desire. So once you have morphed your temptations into sattvic desires, then you are going to only establish dharma. Udasinvat asino. You do your activities without having any expectation. Sthit pragya. You do your activities with total indifference to pleasure and pain. And once you have done that, you have moved into the realm of pure purpose or intention. And that is when a strong wave of vairagya and sannyasa hits you. But it's very important to remember to not get lost or not get into the high of spiritual practices. Whenever you think that you are better than others, when you are doing dhyana for 2 hours or making intellectual discourses, you have retained the ahamkara, which is your perpetual enemy that will never help you get liberated. As long as ahamkara or the ego, the rainbow of delusion, spiritual rainbow of delusion remains inside you, you will not be able to ascend along the path of spirituality. So that is why in dhyana, not only you have to castigate the vasanas, you have to castigate the ahankara. Because as long as one of these things exist, which is ahamkara is basically a representation at the muladhara, subsistence, because you want to maintain the physical integrity, and in the process you project and go beyond the physical realm to provide mental and spiritual peace. So ahamkara has to be destroyed, at least castigated all the time while it exists. So my friends, it's important to again understand that everything is a desire. Whether we let it fall in the realm of temptation or rise in the realm of dharma, Brahmanical neutrality establishment, depends on what kind of practices we do every day. Now, another thing to know is that desire is a taint. It's a speckle of dust on your clear spiritual cloak. Now, it's okay to have one or few speckles of dust on your spiritual cloak, but if you're totally filled with filth all the time in the form of 10,000 vasanas that are tormenting your mind all the time, then it's very hard to make any spiritual progress. So it's very important to limit the number of things that we enjoy. And that's why I have said in my earlier lectures, don't have too many things that arouse you or make you interested in the world. You can pick your top things that you want to work on. It could be overeating, listening to too much music. It could be smoking, drinking, gambling, trading, gaming. You gotta pick your battles. You gotta pick the one that is most disturbing to you. Now the other 4, you have to not get tempted into starting to develop those. You should work on your pre-existing exposures or the vasanas that you have created over the past lives. How do you know those are your vasanas? You know them because that's what you are automatically attracted to. Feels like your nature. Nature is nothing but repeated exposure to certain vishayas that we have come in contact with in our past life. And that's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Swabhavjen Kaunteya Nibaddhasvin Karmana Kartum Nichasi Yan Mohat Karushusi Pashitat. So, Shyansa Dharma Viguna Pradharma Shunshitat Swabhav Nitam Karm Kurman Apnoti Kilbisham. Basically, whatever is your nature, that is what you will do, no matter how many intellect discourses you get. The intellectual discourses and dhyana only help to purify and remove some of the weaker vasanas. The stronger ones will still be there and keep tormenting you time and again until you have repeatedly destroyed them with the power of Vairagya. So try to Swabhavjen Konteya Nibaddhasvin Karmana. You have to, everybody is bound by their own nature and they will act according to the nature. Sahajam karm konteya sadoshmapi na tyajet sarvaramba hi doshne dhume agni rivavrata. You have to act in the direction of your desires, which has morphed your personality, and work on them only, and not try to do someone else's work. When he's saying don't do anybody else's work, you should pursue your own path, even if it is weaker, feeling subdued or inferior, is the reason because you need to exhaust those vasanas. So if you had the desire to become a physician, and in this life you are working as a physician, you are slowly working towards exhaustion of that desire. You are becoming udasinvat asino. Now, I'm not saying that you should look down upon a certain profession. All the point that we are trying to communicate is that when we are doing something all the time, we are exhausting that vasana, so that we don't want to remain a physician in our future lives. We have moved on from this to another realm of requirement that we see. It could be the union of the Atma with the Paramatma, becoming a yogi, becoming a spiritual leader, or becoming nothing. And that's what the Atman is. Once the purpose is served, it dissolves and dissociates into this ethereal realm where it does not exist. That is the perfect dissolution of ahamkara, because it's not that I am happy and they are sad. I do not exist, so everything is happy. That is the mode one goes into. So, in short, my friends, there are 4 levels at which desire manifests itself. At the lowest level, on coming in contact of the Vishayas with the Indriyas, the senses recognize it as a temptation. And when you have totally gotten obsessed with those temptations time and again, they will manifest as compulsions. The mind is where the desires are born. The desires should be few and far in between. Desires are nothing but black tainted speckles that are going to contaminate the white cloak of spirituality. The fewer the desires, the better they are. And the desires need to be more sattvic, establishing Brahmanical neutrality in the realm of dharma, which is where the 3rd level of the desire comes as dharma or righteousness or morality, establishing right things to do and shunning the evil. And finally, desire is, at its purest version, is an intention in the realm of Atman, where the only job for which they came to this life was exhaustion of the vasanas, so that they can go back into their cleansed, purified form of intention, requiring union of the Atman with the Paramatman. When you are shunning the temptations, and when you are making your desires few and far in between, when you are establishing Brahmanical neutrality in dharma, you are telling the Paramatman that you are ready for the yoga or the union. And that is why, my friends, it's important to practice Karma Yoga, Dhyan Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Karma Yoga is at the level of mind. Bhakti Yoga is at the level of surrendering for the temptations at the senses. And Dhyan Yoga is at the level of the Buddhi. And all of these 3 lead to Gyan Yoga, or the ultimate truth revealed to us that our only purpose is to unite the Atman to the Paramatman.